or tat. Words can build or words can break. Speak the truth for all our sake. A hand that feeds can also bind, but peace can free a restless mind. Fix the cracks, don't paint them bright. The world's not whole without the fight. So rise and speak, don't just comply. Change the script, don't live the lie. Counter this, counter that.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 9th episode of Counter This. How is everyone doing today? How are you doing today, David?
I'm exhausted.
I can relate with that. Let's see if
How are
your
you doing?
voice. Yep, the voice comes through on the YouTube, so I just had to check that, make
Perfect.
sure. Yep, I can definitely relate with that. It has been an exhausting week. Mostly mine has been because it is absolutely freezing cold and I'm drained. But I know yours is for completely other reasons, and part of that being a brand new kid, and then life throwing curveballs. So hopefully you can catch up on some sleep this weekend and be all rested for an important meeting you have Monday morning.
Well, it's Monday. Hopefully, it's not in the morning. Jesus. um, yeah. Definitely. It's exciting things, but it's a little bit mentally taxing. The preparation, getting prepared for everything, and so it is what it is. And then you come home and it's the kid chaos, and then you have your oldest come home last night and coolant is leaking out of the bottom of her car. So you now after this, you got to take the car to the shop and put it on the lift and figure out what's going on with it. So maybe I will get some sleep when I'm dead. I don't know.
No, when you're wealthy. Dude, I
When
hate
I'm
that saying.
wealthy.
I hate the saying, you can sleep when you're dead. And it's like, no,
Mhm.
you can sleep when you're wealthy. If you bust ass hard enough and you get yourself a little bit of wealth, then you can slow it on down just a little bit, Take a nap in the middle of the day. But
That'd be nice.
until then, kick ass, take names, and handle business.
Yeah, you
But
can't even take a nap in the middle of the day though,
oh,
because babies.
I mean, you nap when they nap.
Maybe a little bit once he gets a little bit older, we'll be okay.
And you're not gonna pull the trick our parents pull. We're like, here's a little bit of whiskey on the gums. We all going to sleep right now.
I don't even drink, so
It's
I haven't even bought alcohol in
yeah, right.
5 years.
Oh yeah, but it's the old trick, and I'm pretty sure they called out child abuse now. So it is what it is.
How much child abuse they find out, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, everything's fine until you get caught. Yeah, that's how most things go. But speaking of getting caught, we're talking about a big thing today, and a lot of that is not directly corruption, but corruption adjacent. And, they've been caught. All of them. Every single government institution who has failed to actually represent the people. We know about it. It's blatant. We don't have all the evidence, but, we can feel it on our daily lives. When we're like, there's something about that just doesn't seem right. Or, hey, I signed up for your government health care, but, my premiums are crazy and I don't actually get any good health care from it. And like, it's just and more nonsense than it was before the government even got involved.
Hmm.
So that's pretty much what we talked about last week. You know, we talked about how these institutions start out with a great purpose. You know, originally the healthcare plan by the government, but super advantageous. They had a really good idea. They didn't think it was right that every single American that is out there couldn't get healthcare. And the original goal was great. But then it very, very quickly just became a giant money scheme. And we've all complained about it. But now we got to talk about how we, one, hold these institutions accountable. And part of holding them accountable is going to be maybe replacing them or maybe just completely raising it and building up something that's from the ground and actually has the people in mind with better incentive structures. So we did bring up a lot of things last week. One of those was public utilities. We brought that up quite a bit. We'll probably do a segment on that because, you know, it's kind of sad that we're a first world nation with the biggest GDP in the world and the largest capital in the entire world, and some places don't have clean drinking water. It's also sad that we're a number one nation in the world and we don't have the best healthcare in the world. So those are episodes that we're going to get into on later segments. But for now, we're going to talk about generalizations of how we kind of bring the American government back to the original goal that it had, where you had a system in place for, say, Social Security, which is a great idea. You know, a lot of Americans don't always know how to plan for their own retirement. It can be a little complex. And they were like, hey,
busy.
oh, yeah. You know, it does take a lot of time. And I mean, a lot of us know because we invest ourselves and we handle all of that ourselves. But like, that's almost a full-time job in itself to pay attention to the trends and all of that. And the government was like, hey, you know what? We're going to take just a little bit of your money and then we're going to make sure that this old person is taken care of. And then when you get to that age, the younger people will be helping to take care of you. But like, we all know where that story went. The government was like, hey, we got a lot of money here, so let's borrow it and then never repay it. And so that institution hasn't worked very well either.
Have
But
we actually borrowed from Social Security?
yes, several times. With the promise that it would be repaid, but like at the same time, they keep raising the retirement age over and over because, you know, too many people are on Social Security that are paying into Social Security. Originally, when Social Security was designed, 10 people were paying for one person to live because how long people were living. Now we've got less people working, and I think the ratios are closer to like there's like 10 people working to pay for like 7 people. And it just doesn't really work. As opposed to, it's like, if we had more of like a pension plan where you're actually investing this money so that it grows, and over the long term, you just have a bigger and a bigger fund, and you're also helping grow the economy at the same time, everyone would win. But that's not what they did. They just had a giant pool of money, which of course these greedy politicians were always going to try to get their mitts on.
Are they greedy politicians, or are they just trying to take money from the coffers to fund their little pet projects for their regions or whatever their constituents,
Or a
both. Mixture?
both. Because like at the same time, that'd be greed. It's like, why should the federal government be funding your little pet project? Like, why?
When I say pet project, I mean like your state, like you're over your people in your state, right? Like you're a congressperson, you know, you have your constituents. You literally run for Congress so that you can go in there and be the representative for your locality, and you advocate for funding or for whatever regulation, whatever it is for your locality. But I don't know, man. I almost think that the country's too damn big at this point.
Yeah.
uh,
Well, I mean,
do we need more representation, or do we just need to just break up the representation? I don't know.
I mean, okay, it wouldn't be bad to have more representation, but at the same time, more representation that really can't do much. It has more constrictions where it's like, if we're going to have like the EPA sets a federal mandate that your state is now in charge of fulfilling. Instead of it being like, well, here's the bureaucratic arm of the government, so now you have to pay us more tax dollars so that the EPA can figure out a way to spend them, put needless legislation that on a lot of times doesn't even get fulfilled. And it's like, oh, you have the EPA, but instead of having it where like cars are producing less emissions, instead we now have a mandate that the EPA has done, which makes it impossible to sell small trucks. There's a reason the original Ford Ranger doesn't exist anymore, but it still exists, just not in America. And that's because of the EPA. So, like, how is that benefiting anyone? You know,
Cleaner air, duh.
But it doesn't, because now that you've set the regulations on the size of the vehicle, they're just like, well, we're just gonna sell you a big truck. So, how is that beneficial? We make the truck bigger so that we can put out more emissions. It sounds like you did an absolutely amazing job, EPA. Thanks.
It did. I feel like our air is probably cleaner than it was back when we were just burning just whatever.
Well, I mean, like,
I don't know. That like every institution or whatever has agency, whatever you want to call it, has its purpose, and I don't think. To me, my opinion is that the issue is not their existence per se. I mean, maybe there are institutions that maybe I could be swayed to disagree with, like in whole. But I think the biggest issue that everyday Americans have is the lack of accountability for the institutions, for when they get things wrong, or like we have or even like incentive drift, where just the incentives just it's less about serving the people and more about upholding the institution itself, and shielding the people within from outside stuff, instead of, and too much responsibility or too much power gets spread around, so that there's no like single accountable person, like or rather responsibility gets spread around, and there's that's how you get the lack of accountability, because if everybody has responsibility, then nobody can be accountable. So you've got to have people to go to fix things. But if you don't have that, then that's something that's got to change. And there's ways to do that, and I believe that's what we're going over in this episode.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and that's why I think that easiest way to do it, the easiest way to make it more accountable, is you have a federal government that sets a mandate. The federal government sets a mandate on what kind of clean air, instead of having an enforcement arm of the federal government where the EPA, they go out and they check all these vehicles and they do all of that. It's like, here's the mandate that is given to your state. If you want to take it further, like California does, more power to you. But if you just want to meet the minimum, more power to you. And you, as an individual in your state, in your locality, could easier hold them accountable than it's like, hey, Mr. Federal Government, bureaucratic man, who I'm never gonna see in my life. Never once am I gonna see the who's in charge of the EPA. Never once am I gonna see who's in charge of the FDA. Never once am I gonna be able to shake the hand of the Federal Reserve member. Like, all of that is unattainable. They have zero accountability. They're not actually having to see the cost of what they're doing. So, and that's why our founding fathers wanted to have local government. They wanted to have a federal government that could enforce some things like borders and the protection of the states within its nation, but most of the and that
rights and liberties,
but most of that it left up to the states, because it's like, here's the mandate, you have to give people the right to free speech, and it's now up to the state to enforce that right. It's now up to the state to make sure that no one has unreasonable searches and seizures. It's now up to the state to mandate freedom of religion, instead of the federal government coming in and needing more money, being unaccountable, because like that's one of the biggest problems with administration shifts. You see one administration being like, "Oh, we're really a big fan of this," and the next administration comes in and says, screw your green energy deal. Screw all of that nonsense you were talking about. Scratch all of that. We're going to pivot 180. We're going to drill more oil. We're going to have more refineries. We're going to go nuclear. And it's like, there's no accountability. One president can come in there and the direction can shift. And now the federal government just like started getting in on a plan, which probably wasn't working well anyway, just to turn around and pivot it.
It's not really the transition, in my opinion, isn't the issue. The issue is the president has way too much authority now. Because everything that you just described is what is being done through executive orders and is not legislation passed by Congress. That becomes very difficult to change. But the stuff that we've been doing since George W. Bush really is when the EOs just started going crazy, and then Obama went overdrive on that, and then Trump went even further. It's just like, and then Biden comes in, like, and they just keep wiping each other's EOs, and that's just what's been going on now for the past, I don't know, like almost 20 years now.
Oh yeah.
So,
and that's what happens when you have a strong federal government, though. A federal government that can literally dictate every single position in your daily life. Where, hey, we can tell you what kind of car you can drive. We can tell you what kind of guns you can own. We can tell you what kind of food you can put in your body. That's not right.
I mean, whereas our problem with me, I can go and pick whatever truck out. What are you saying? I don't.
But can you? Can you go pick up a Ford Ranger right now? A brand new Ford Ranger, hot off the press? No, you can't.
I can buy something that's called a Ford Ranger.
You can buy an old one, but you cannot buy the new Ford Ranger. They're not sold in America because the EPA has regulated the emission. Go check it out. There's a reason that there's only big body trucks in the United States.
Oh, Ranger. Oh, okay. I'm thinking F-150.
Yeah, the new Ford Ranger that they made is a big ass Ford Ranger. It is the same size as all your other big body trucks. There's a reason for that. And that reason is because of the EPA.
You're telling me
you can't go pick up a small body truck. Like, you see them in the Middle East all the time, where it's like a tiny little Mazda truck. It's like slightly bigger.
I know what kind of trucks you're talking about, but you're telling me I can't just...
No.
I can't buy one?
No. Check it out. Check it out. Dig into it. You can't.
I can't build one.
I mean, you could build one, but also at the same time, you're going to fall under those same regulations that the EPA has mandated. There are certain emission rates that you can have in your vehicle because clean air. The only reason that the EPA existed was because of industrialization. The massive amount of pollution that we did through massive growth and building things here in America, which was deregulated extremely harshly. There was dumping of pollutions. There was giant smog. That's a big part of what London went through, you know, when they had industrialization. And then they offshored all of it, the same way that we did. And now it's just India that deals with all that stuff, and China that deals with all that stuff. And since then, we've had cleaner air. But the EPA still exists because the EPA has to make itself exist. So it has to come up with these things that really don't do a damn thing, and instead of keeping us safe. When is the last time that the EPA has really come out and done something massive for the American people that changed our lives and made things cleaner for us?
You know, we are so incredibly privileged when we start complaining because we have clean air and we don't know what it's like to have dirty air.
Well, that's not what I'm complaining. Like, that's not what I'm complaining about. I'm complaining about the fact you did your job. You did the job you were supposed to do.
Yeah, but if they go away, then what happens? What do you think happens, BC?
And this is where you set you, instead of having that massive branch of the government who takes up a lot of money, you have a mandate that a smaller office sets and make sure states are following, where you actually see that person that's in charge in your state making sure that your state has clean air, that your state is meeting those government standards. We allow a certain amount of pollution, and then your state figures out how to get their portion of it done. Your state figures out how to make clean water.
Is that not what we do? Is that not what
really.
the EPA does?
No.
They set the standard and then the states do whatever off of that?
No. The federal government sets the standards. And then this federal government enforces the fact that it gets done. The federal government fines the companies that break those standards. The federal government comes in there and makes sure that the vehicles that these car companies make aren't breaking those standards. And
do you think they're creating like new stuff just to I had it on the tip of my tongue, but to make themselves look like they need to be here?
Political theater.
Even though it's like your original job was just fine, just keep that as is.
Mm-hmm.
And now you keep adding on stuff to kind of prove that you're needed or something, even though it's like. But that's the thing. It's like, well, if you're doing well, we shouldn't even know that. We shouldn't even be hearing about you. That's my thing. It's like if something's working well, you don't even know it. Like crypto being integrated into everyday payments. Like if it's done well, most people won't even know that they're using blockchain technology, right?
Yeah.
Unless something like fails and it's like, oh, why is this failing? Oh, the blockchain went down. Oh, I didn't know that ran on. You know what I mean? Like it's just as long as something is going right. See, that's one of my favorite things about my job. It's like, man, it's the opposite of with kids. Okay, it's like, man, it's really quiet. Things must be going well.
Oh yeah.
it's when things are getting loud is when things are not going well, and just the fact that people are voicing their opinion about the EPA, about the FDA, about every government agency under the sun, that kind of tells you that there's something going on that we need to really put our finger on. And don't forget that the name of the show is Counter This, so I'm just going to give you some pushback just for fun.
Oh yeah, no, which is totally fine. We're gonna have to figure out how to hold them accountable. And like I do agree, my biggest thing. And see, my biggest thing would be that transparency, where every single movement that this government agency makes is out there, easily readable. Whereas it's like you can go to the EPA's website and
Right.
like you can contact them. You know, they might get back to you in a couple of months or something. But like at the same time, we watched the EPA not do shit about Flint, Michigan's water for like 15 years. That's like that's one of your basic, that's one of the bare minimum jobs you have, you know?
But what was, I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs of that. Like, I don't know the context. Like, why did it take so long? Did they literally like have to replace like all the piping? Because that can take quite some time. So,
But at the same time, they said that they were doing stuff when they weren't doing anything. Like, they bold-faced lied to us. As you brought up last week, where Obama's like, yep, the water's great. Here's a fake drink of it. But like in the Flint, Michigan, that's just one big giant city that we've talked about.
yeah,
You know,
he
where
took a
we
little
know.
sip of it. They went to him before. They're like, hey, sir, if you just take a little sip, look, nothing's gonna happen. Maybe a little stomach ache, but nothing else. Okay.
But it's like that's one of the instead of worrying about like the car emissions, you know, why isn't the EPA worrying about the fact that we still have lead pipes in the United States that provide a majority of the South and the middle of America's water to us?
Yeah, I mean, we've been replacing all of our lead piping over the past 2-3 years. Like, you drive around town and there's places everywhere. Like, they're just setting up shop. They'll get the pipes done and then they'll move to the next location. And that's another thing, man. A lot of this stuff takes a lot of time because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of houses, there's a lot of businesses. Like,
But
it's
like
a big
that,
country too. You're talking about long runs. You know, you go to China, somewhere like that, and people are stacked on top of each other. Same with Japan, same with England, all this stuff. But we've got so much wide open space and all this rural land and stuff. And I don't know, we got to slow things down, or at least people have to slow their expectations when it comes to stuff that we do. But at the same time, stuff that are emergencies should probably be getting done quicker, like Flint, Michigan. It's
the
like,
lead
okay,
piping.
let's kind of allocate our resources or consolidate our resources towards this one thing for now so we can get this done, because it's literally brown water. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Like, these other people, they might be getting a little bit of lead, but the water's still clear. Okay.
See, but like at the same time, you know who would probably get that done quicker? You know, if it wasn't a federal government position,
private industry,
and
private
if it was more private and worked with and partnerships with the state, and you could be like, hey, Mr. Whoever your name is, Mr. Smith, the man in charge of making sure that my city has clean drinking water. What is this? You know? Whereas then we don't have that. We kind of have that.
As far as I'm aware, that's what they do.
I mean,
Like
in some instances. Whereas
there's no, I don't know, is there an EPA like crew or team or like whatever build crew, or do they just tell the states or give them funds for what they need, and then the state then goes and finds the private companies to do the work, or does the state do the work themselves? I honestly don't know. So
it's more of a combination thing. But like at the same time, the federal government is a slow moving body. But they could sure pass mandates on a car and their emissions on trucks extremely quickly, but they couldn't make sure people couldn't handle a literal crisis very quickly
it's
at all.
almost feeling like a little bit of a last week thing. How do we actually reform this stuff? We're 30 minutes in. It's
That's
time
what
to start addressing some reform.
Well, and that's why I was saying is like the way to reform that is going to be forcing that job away from the federal government having the federal government dictate what happens and having local constituencies actually handle these problems so that you can actually hold someone accountable. And if someone isn't getting that job done, then you'd be like, hey, well, this time around, since you couldn't get us clean drinking water in 4 years or 3 years, whatever that position is in that your local jurisdiction, we're going to put this man in that says he's going to get the job done. The same way that we should be doing at the federal government level. But we can't do that at the federal government level because these are all bureaucrats. These are people that never were elected into power. They held a position of power in the government, and they were like, hey, Mr. So-and-so, here's the EPA for you. You did a great job. We're going to put you here now. Or the FDA, or whatever branch. You can substitute literally any branch. They're like, you did a great job. You've been a great butt kisser. You've protected whoever, and like, here's your reward. You get to be in charge of this government agency.
I don't think I don't think it would be efficient to do the whole electoral process for the bureaucracy or whatever. However, I do think that we should probably add some kind of term limits to all government positions. Every single last one of them, even if it's just like 16, 20 years. Like, even if it's that much, at least there's still like an end date and you can get fresh people in there. And fresh minds and all that stuff. And you get less capture, I think, that way as well. The reason I say like 16, because that gives you at least like 2 8-term presidents, or, gives you 2 8-year, 2-term presidencies to work through. And it just helps with like consistency and follow through on things. But like past that, I don't know. It starts to get a little bit sketch once you get past that. What are your thoughts on that? On term limits
I would agree. I would definitely agree with that, because I mean, there's people that would just sit in positions of power until they decide to retire. It's like, if we can do that for the Federal Reserve, that should be done for every single government branch. You know, the one oddly specific government branch we never have to worry about that on? The FDA. Because the FDA is like, hey, I had a nice 18-month run here at the FDA, and now I'm going to go work for this drug company. That's the one branch you never have to worry about that on. Which I would say is arguably worse.
Will always poach them, right?
Yeah, I would say arguably that's like the one that's like probably the worst impactful.
What happens more? People leave the government to go to an industry, like leave a regulatory body, or they come from the industry and go to the regulatory body?
I would say leaving the government to go to private institutions. One, you make more in private institutions. Two, you've been working close knit with these people in the private institutions, and if you are really nice to them, of course they're going to give you a really nice job and a really big salary, which
like
I think
Gary Gensler and the SEC.
Oh yeah, which I think is a big problem in the other big problem in these regulatory bodies. It's like, you spend so much time with the people that you're supposed to be actually regulating and protecting us from, and there's zero transparency about the job that you're actually doing. Hey, we're banning crypto, but we're not going to tell you why. But like, what we are going to say is crypto is used by drug dealers, even though that's the cap. You know, it's the biggest lie they've ever told. They're like, oh, these are just, really unsafe markets. We're protecting you.
Let's be real. It started off.
That is how Bitcoin exploded, and got massive. But at the same time, it's like, that's nothing in comparison to the amount of U.S. dollars that are spent every single day to buy illegal things. So it was a big lie, and this is the thing that the government does over and over and over again when they have a regulatory body. They tell us that they're going to protect us from some evil thing, and then we just are told this is for your best interest. and there's no.
funds terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, so does the U.S. dollar. What are you doing about that one?
I mean, they get funding somehow. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's dollars, Swiss francs, like gold, crypto, they get funding, bro. Like you can't just single out like one little industry. Like I'd understand. I don't know. No, no. What I care mostly about is where the money's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they're getting paid in crypto. I want to know who's paying them in crypto. That's what I want to know.
Exactly.
But they try to use it because they're like, oh, it's this weird thing. It's like anonymous and like you don't know where it's coming from and all this stuff. It's like, dude, I can just give them cash. It's the same thing. What are you
Mm-hmm.
talking about?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
at least there's like a digital trail of transactions on the blockchain. Like you could figure out. You trace stuff long enough, you could figure it out.
I mean, they
Um,
can figure out who's used mixers. Like
yeah,
you figured out that the terrorists got the So apparently, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more transparent than cash is, which is
yeah, you
why.
knew the terrorists used it, right?
Right? Like, come on now. So and this is it's one of those things where it's like how do we actually come in and hold the government accountable to those lies?
Mhm.
And I don't think you can hold the federal government accountable to these lies anymore. They're just too big to really come in there and be like, "Hey, Mr. FDA, these pills that were sold through 2008 until 2015 caused people to have pancreatic cancer." And the government's like, "Oh, well, in 7 years, we're gonna make them pay some money out." But in that 14-year run, that company made millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Billions.
Yeah, it's depending on what the product is, like they could make trillions of dollars on the right product. But the problem is the FDA had one job, and the FDA didn't keep that drug from being released to begin with. But we have no way to hold the FDA accountable. We have no way at all.
There's businesses that lobby the FDA, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we got this new product. We would like for you to, or how do things that shouldn't get passed through the FDA get passed through the FDA? Is
Well,
it because someone was bought off, or is it more someone I don't know, knows somebody? Like, is it like networking type deal?
so
Maybe there's a mixture of all different kinds of things, but
so what I've found through the research that I've done is
mhm.
a lot of the time the FDA, because of the amount of drugs that are released every year, doesn't have time to actually run trials. So they just take these drug companies at their word on the 6 months trials that they do. They're like, "Oh, thanks for giving us your data. Your data looks all good, but like we've never known a drug company to fudge their numbers, and they don't drop people from
Pfizer's never
trials, and
paid billions in fines before.
like, it's like come on now, like that's the problem though. It's like how do we actually hold that accountable?
And
How do we?
that's the thing, BC, man. Back in the day, the way the system was set up, you could take these people to court yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the government wasn't just going to go in there and just be like, "Oh, here's a fine, aka a slap on the wrist." No, people at these organizations were held accountable, and they were thrown in jail if there was like any kind of negligence or mismanagement or just like known wrongdoing, or they know you cut these corners so that you could make more money, but it ended up killing people. So you go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, you don't go to jail. You
No.
don't get that accountability. It's just, oh, I'll just have to pay the fine off. Like great financial crisis. Another one. It's like, None of the bankers went to jail.
No.
A lot of them got bonuses. They got paid by bailout money.
Nope. And the
And
government
it was
was
because they
supposed to
were
be holding them
too
accountable.
big to fail. Too big to fail.
The-
Things shouldn't get too big to fail. That's a problem in and of itself.
Well, the SEC was supposed to be holding those banks accountable to begin with. Why did the SEC? Why wasn't the SEC, who is very, very eager to tell people we can't have cryptocurrency because it's a criminal whatever, why couldn't they?
Legal.
Why couldn't they do an investigation into what they already knew what was going on, and the grouping of bad mortgages and selling them as A plus batches of mortgages that were never going to get paid to begin with, which are also being used to leverage, to buy capital, to turn around and leverage that. So it's like once one part collapses, it causes the whole system to fall. Why wasn't the SEC regulating that? This is that part where it's like we need transparency from every single government agency. Every single move you make, every single time you sign a piece of paper, every single time you make a phone call, every single time you send an email, there should be someone, everyone that can read every single thing that just happened that day. If something happens at if something happens at the FDA, I should be able to read every single thing that happened that day. We need complete transparency.
And we get a little bit of that. I'm just trying to think of like ideas, but we get a little bit of that with like the FOMC minutes. We get to actually see the transcript and stuff and see what each Fed member was talking about and why they were talking, or why they thought this, why they thought that. And it's good to have that transparency. I think there should be more of that with the Fed, and I think there should be at least it needs to exist in the other agencies. It doesn't even exist in the other agencies.
The only reason that the FOMC minutes exist is for a completely different reason. Because if they didn't have transparency on that, which is like on their website, they say, the dollar that really isn't actually, it's all fake anyway. If they didn't have that transparency, no one would have faith in the dollar, therefore destroying it.
Yeah, you got to have the trust in the almighty dollar.
But like at the same time, it's like I would say it's arguably 100 times more important that we have faith in the EPA, that we have faith in the FDA, that we have faith in the company that is making sure that harmful to you never hear about them. But the government agency that makes sure that harmful toys don't get to kids and kill them, they do an amazing job. Why aren't we copying them? They are completely transparent. They make sure that harmful products don't get to kids that'll kill them.
Well, what about the CFPB? Why did Elon get rid of the CFPB when it was literally like one of few government agencies that's actually returned money back to the people, like $20 billion worth since its creation? But we get rid of that. Why? I don't know. Maybe because there's some billionaires on there that were getting looked into and investigated, and maybe one of the people, maybe one of the people that was the head of Doge was one of those people. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
That sounds like That sounds like a conspiracy theory. LBC. They would never do that.
It was on the books. It was on the books. It was there. They were ready to, but it's just, they get to use the argument. It's like, oh no, it's just, it was just political. They're just going after me for political reasons. It's like, I don't know, maybe you were doing some shady shit.
It's like both things can be true at once. They could be going after you for political reasons, but if you weren't a corrupt piece of garbage, they never could have gone after you to begin with.
And the thing is, like, someone like Mark Andreessen will go on the Joe Rogan show and just flat out lie, saying that the CFPB is what debanked people. It's like, No, the CFPB was the exact opposite. They're the ones that went and got people their bank accounts back that were wrongfully debanked.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the one government agency that I'm just like, why are we getting rid of this? I
Yeah.
don't understand.
And they were
The one that's actually following their mission.
and they were extremely transparent about what their mission was, the moves that they were making. They released everything that they did to the public. It's like and that's the problem here. Is like, how do you hold a federal government accountable that's willing to do those kinds of things that are for institutions that want to hold the federal government itself accountable?
That's why they got rid of the BC. They're like, this one's working. We don't want people to see this.
Yeah. So like, and that's why my biggest complaint here and my biggest fix for actually how we fix the federal government is to dismantle a lot of the federal government. Dismantle a lot of the federal government, give these rights back to the states, have the states uphold these things for the citizens, where these citizens can have direct contact with the people who are actually impacting their lives on a daily basis.
What do you think about regulation by region?
I'd be fine with that as long as we could see it work. It'd be worth a better try than what we're doing right now.
Yeah, because I feel like some regulation can make sense in some areas while it doesn't make sense in others, if that makes sense.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so I can't come up with an example off the top of my head, but it's just...
So the one I would go for is energy and the kind of energy that you're needed in certain segments of the country. Where it's like, oh, you can't have these kinds of emissions, blah, 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 blah. Well, here up in, say, North Dakota, during the wintertime, we can't have your mandated energy. We can't do this clean energy nonsense. We have to, we need fossil fuels, or we need nuclear, you know? We can't meet your standards and still provide the things that we need for our constituents, which is why the federal government doesn't really work very well when you try to mandate something across the board like that on people's daily lives. If you try to mandate something more along the lines of like, hey, you can't not hire that dude because he's black. Sure, you know, that's fine. Whereas I might not fully agree with it because I feel like as a business owner, someone who has built their own business, they have the right to say who they do and don't want to hire based on whatever characteristics that they want. And that's up to them. They have full right and transparency as long as it's not for some crazy like real crazy reason.
As long as there's no pattern.
I mean, I see, like...
No. I'm going to push back on this because you're a business and you are open to the public.
And
the public people. You might be a private business. That just means you can run it however you see fit. But if someone comes to you and they have the merit or they have the experience and all this stuff, but your one hang up is that they're black or that they're Asian or that they're male or that they're female, whatever it is, I don't know.
And I feel like it's up to the free market to run that business into the ground.
Yeah, I mean, but okay. I mean, that's fair.
I feel like
if there's a pattern, then it needs to be pointed out at least by the public or something.
Yes,
I don't know.
that would be a much better and stronger way to actually look at what the boycott of Hulu and ABC did. Look how strong that was. When the public comes together, there is nothing that the public can't do. But the problem is that we've segmented the public. The federal government has segmented the public. And the only way we get that away is by dismantling a lot of the federal government and actually coming back together as a public by holding these people accountable. If some coffee shop down the street says they don't want to hire black people and they don't want to serve black people, There's 5 other coffee shops on that same street that'll sell to black people and hire black people. And guess what you do as a community? Well, you're like, hey, we're going to go to these other coffee shops, and that business either adopts the same strategies that that business does, or they fail. And that's
Little
the
bit.
beauty of the free
Okay.
market.
Here's the reality, though, BC. Okay, because I'm gonna pose this to you, and I think it's a good point. Here's the reality. Okay, black family is driving through, taking a road trip through rural Alabama. Okay, not a gas station in miles and miles and miles. They're running on low. There's one gas station here. They got to stop. They got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
But they get to that gas station and they're like, we don't serve your kind around here. Well, what are they to do?
Well,
That's just that limits their freedoms by you doing that.
see, in the modern day, there's going to be other things that you can come up with.
It's a hypothetical. Engage with the hypothetical, BC.
See, and I would say in our modern day, you could very easily call for some gas to be brought. You know, like there's mobile mechanics, there's mobile services. And it's like it might take a little bit of time, but at the same time, it's like I believe the problem I have with it is that the federal government has that power to begin with, and what they can use that power to do, and how far that they've taken the power. And the problem is we see that over and over and over again with every single branch.
What I don't like is when a gay couple goes to a wedding cake maker and they say, this is what I want, whether you like it or not. Is it like, I want you to create art, like it, and if you don't create this specific art, to me that is a bit different than a service like a convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're there, it's gasoline. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't just go up there and just do whatever I want. It's gasoline. Like, I mean,
No.
I put it in the car. Like, I'm not forcing anybody to really. I'm not. The only thing I'm forcing you to do is to do your job that you're created to do. Like,
see, and that's where
there's
certain
a little bit of a separate. There's a little bit of difference there. You see what I'm saying?
That's where certain things like that, I believe, are more of like a public service utility type thing.
Mhm.
And like should be more of a service that is undictated by who you are and what kind of skin color you have, what practices you have, things like that. The same way that, like, if I want water, if I want water in my house, it doesn't matter who I am, what my private life is, what color I am. It's just a utility, and they can't tell me no. And that's kind of what I would go with that. It's like there's certain parts of the economy that you're going to have to segment off like that. Where it's like, I can't tell you that you can't have this phone service because you're a brown person, as opposed to it's like, well, you can't have this cake because I don't like brown people. Well, that's up to the free market to kind of dictate. But at the same time, I don't think the federal government needs all of these powers. If the state wants to come in and mandate how these businesses can run within their own borders, I'd be more okay with that. But I'm not okay with the federal government stealing powers that they don't need anyway.
Yeah, and I don't care for affirmative action type of quotas. I don't like quotas at all. Like, that's just insane to me. You should just be hiring based on freaking experience and just merit. But like I honestly, personally, I didn't really have too much of an issue with DEI. I think a lot of people confuse DEI with affirmative action, whereas DEI has nothing to do with quotas. And it was more of an incentive to get people to hire just people from different backgrounds. Like, it's literally like rich versus poor people. women versus men, like, or woman versus a poor person. Like, it doesn't really matter. The goal was, I want a bigger piece of the merit pie.
Hmm.
And we want you to be focused on the merit and not someone's background. Because a lot of businesses, just because you came from a poor background, they don't want to mess with you.
No.
And that's what that was there to try and sway businesses towards getting people, those lower income or whatever, lower class people, to try and bring those people up. And it didn't matter if they were black, white, women, men, whatever it was. They're just like, we want you to put that resume up against someone else's resume, and they're the exact same. Base them off of the merit.
Hmm.
And businesses and this helps businesses bring in talent from around the world too. That's probably one of the reasons why that's probably the main reason why I was actually gotten rid of. Probably has nothing to do with quotas. That might have been the messaging, but it's probably more just like, we just want America type deal. So,
And
because that's why Mark Cuban loved DEI, because he's like, this gets competition from this. You're able to pull talent from everywhere because of this, because it attracts people from other
hmm
places around the world. And as a capitalist, it's kind of like, I mean, I get it, but I also don't think, I don't know this stuff. I don't know. Mandates.
the
That's what really gets me. That's what
hmm
really gets me is
and that's
mandates.
what
I don't.
and I think, and that's why I think it's the job of the free market and not the job of the federal government. It's
Mhm.
a, the reason it's harder and harder to kind of get jobs, because a job will scrutinize you on these certain immutable characteristics, is because the government has federally mandated that you need to look at these immutable characteristics, and you need to have a matching sector of each of these immutable characteristics at your business. Otherwise, we might look at you as as someone that's being racist, or someone that's being sexist, or someone that's being this or that, or this or that. Like,
That's the
it's
quotas.
crazy. And it's like, at why do we need all of these check marks on the resume? Oh, are you black? Are you Mexican or Latino? Are you white? Are you this? Are you that? And it's like, are you a good person? Do you have the characteristics that we need at our business?
But see, that's the
Give me your
problem. They weren't
resume.
doing that. They weren't
Oh,
doing that. The problem is, they're like, my other rich people, friends, that's who I'm going to hire. And most of them also happen to just be white, because that's where most of the wealth is. Uh, but it doesn't matter. They pretty much don't care what your skin color. Most probably do care if you're male or female. Just being honest. Um, uh, but for the most part, they're just like, "Are you wealthy, or are you a man?" That's what they were trying to fix. Is that we're not just selecting for those people. We want you to look at other people. But I don't want to. But we're not forcing you to do these things, which is what I don't like. I don't like it when they're like, "No, you have to have this amount of Latinos, or this amount of this." No, that is bogus. That is absolutely insane to me. But to me, back to the other thing, mandates. I don't like it. I had no problem with businesses enforcing the vaccine mandates. What I didn't like is the government doing vaccine mandates.
hmm
Like, if they don't want, if a business erroneously doesn't want to let people in that haven't been vaccinated, I mean, that's them choosing their
Yep.
clientele. I mean, it's their customers. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you want to limit yourself like that, go right on ahead. But as soon as the government started to mandate it, that's when I was like, no, no,
The-
we ain't doing this, bro. We
And
are
see,
not doing this.
and that's why I have a problem with, like, federal governments. And it's like, if a state wants to kind of, like, more along the lines of a mandate, sure, You know, that's more power to you, whatever. But like, that's also why you saw a mass exodus from places like California and New York during COVID. And it's like,
Exactly.
this is what the free market is for. You know, you vote with your dollar, you vote with your feet, you vote by putting yourself in the positions that are going to allow you to succeed the best. And if we allow this flourishing without the federal government really hampering it as much, then we'll really get to see what the free market can do. And we'll really get to see what's the best recipe for success, what actually succeeds over the long term.
You know, I actually like people leaving California and like going to like Texas and Florida. Not because, well, mostly because you start to mix a lot of people's like different background and stuff like that. And I don't know, there's something cool about that I think will have good outcomes because you're doing that. Maybe not so good for California, but you know.
Oh, well, I mean, that's why California had to turn around and be like, for the next 10 years, whatever taxes you were going to pay to California, you're still going to have to pay to California because we need your money, because the way that we do things, we absolutely need every single dollar we can get, which is like, seems less than legal.
It's just crazy to me because it's like you're literally the third biggest economy in the world.
Mm-hmm. You
Why do
realize
you have to have so many taxes? Like why?
because so much stuff there is free. That's a big part of it. So much
Right,
stuff
and you
there is
wonder
free.
why there's a big homeless population there. You know,
Well,
not
that
just
couldn't.
weather, but a lot of free stuff too.
There couldn't be any reason that like there's also a big homeless population because there was millions and millions of dollars that were absconded with by a government politician or anything that were supposed to go to housing the homeless. That couldn't be part of it too. That all happened during COVID. It was just like, and then they were like, "Yep, that guy's awesome. Let's vote him back in." So.
That's another thing too. It's like that the whole election process is supposed to be part of the accountability, but people still vote these people in. It blows my mind.
Yep. And like I feel like at the same time though, if there wasn't such the big push on the federal government level, if everything wasn't federal, and it's like, wow, the president's red, so us in California who don't agree with him need to have the polar opposite of him in California, then it wouldn't be as big of a deal, you know? You wouldn't have that, oh, well, we just got to vote blue because screw that party. Whereas if things were actually less federal government strong and more state strong, you would actually care a little bit more about who is running your state, as opposed to it's like, this guy's going to stand up to Trump and he's going to do it loudly and proudly. They cared more about that than making sure that the dude who absconded with money that was supposed to fix the homeless problem.
It's the other way around too, though.
Now, I'm not saying it's not, but like that's just the
problem.
That's why that's
Polarization.
but like, and that's mostly because we have a strong federal government. We were warned what would happen if we had a strong federal government with a big federal government with lots of enforcement agencies, with lots of arms that could end up manipulating how we lived our daily lives. We were warned that there would be polarization, that we would have parties that would divide the country, and that this is where we would end. And weird that these guys that studied things, that had plenty of time on their hands to do nothing after the day was over, but sit and contemplate the greatest people that history has ever produced, and created the system of government that every other person in the entire world is trying to copy right now. Maybe they knew a thing or two, you know? Maybe we shouldn't throw out the recipe book because they also did things that by our standards now are deemed less than moral. Like, everyone wants what we have. Everyone wants that freedom of speech. Everyone wants that right to own property. Everyone wants all of these things. They try to copy it. And then we're just like, you know what? That recipe kind of, like was a little bit a little bit bad because that man had slaves or what would name whatever thing you want to throw out there. So now we got to throw out the entire thing. Well, at the
Now,
same time, if the federal government wasn't as massive as it was now, that wouldn't even be a problem. If we went back to our roots, if we have our federalist roots, and we got back towards that, we wouldn't have most of these complaints that we have on the daily. We would be able to hold our local politicians accountable, and it would be a lot more important to do so.
could we be? I feel like, though, the more decentralized the government becomes, and the less authority you take from them, obviously, you're going to um, slow it down and maybe not make it less efficient, but make it less able to react to different like crisis situations. Maybe, I don't know. It's kind of like it's like, Solana, right? Centralized chain. They're able to do what they can do quickly and efficiently, because they move fast and break things. But it's centralized, so they're able to do that. Whereas you got something like Bitcoin, where it's more tried and true and honest, but it takes longer to process each block. And so, I actually, the thing is, when you're talking about a nation that's as big as ours, uh, you're talking about you're talking about a nation. You're talking
Mhm.
about something that, if everything goes well, the plan is for this thing to outlive every single one of us, for it to just keep on churning, right? So you don't necessarily need to move fast and break things. You don't necessarily need to concentrate all that power, because outside of, I don't know what, China, it's like, I mean, whatever. Let them move fast and break things. Let them fail because they can't keep up with demographics, because they're too controlling, too centralized and all this stuff. And that's fine. Everybody's like, "Oh, look at this. They turn around and rebuilt this road in a freaking day after it just absolutely collapsed." And it's like, that's fine. It'll probably collapse again.
Mhm.
it's just
Yeah.
like it's like it's cool. Yeah, they got things going for now, but like it's like Solana, yeah, it moves fast and all this stuff, but that thing gets congested, it breaks,
Mhm.
the network goes down. And so I would rather have something that's slow and steady and tried and true and open and honest, transparent, uh, immutable, uh, censorship resistant, more decentralized.
Fully
That
transparent.
that's it. That's what you want for the government. So
Mhm.
my argument as we leave is, put the government on the blockchain,
Yeah.
on a proof
I
of work blockchain.
I would agree with that.
Or a
And
decentralized autonomous organization, or several DAOs. But I think I can save that for another episode.
oh yeah, we've got a lot more coming, and 2026 will be an interesting year. I know Melissa asked, she was like, "Is this on any other platforms yet?" And I said no, but 2026 we'll be looking at potentially switching this from live streams on the weekend
Mm.
to doing a recording on the weekend and then dropping the video during the week so it gets a little more viewership. And at that time, I'll end up looking at putting these on something like
And we could
Spotify or things like
start.
that.
Yeah, we'll set it as premiere too, so that we can have a live chat during the
Hmm.
premiere, so we can interact with you guys and all that stuff. Because the thing is, it's a bit different than our usual streams that we do for the market stuff. Because, I mean, the, to be quite frank, once you build a system for the market stuff, that it's the same stuff like every single day.
Oh, really?
But when you're actually like challenging ideas and thoughts and philosophy and government and like people, all this stuff, it's a lot more to process. It's hard to disengage from the conversation and engage with the chat. So it's much better, and it's easier to stay on topic when we're just talking with each other instead of going to the chat. So it'd be nice to just record it, put it out for a preview, and then be able to interact with you guys in the chat during the preview. So that's my thoughts on that. And but we do appreciate you guys for showing up for the lives. And yeah, just make sure you smash that like button, share it out with the friends. This is the first I'm hearing about getting this put in podcast form, but I'm down. I'm cool with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's something I've been pondering, because when we talked about doing recordings and then dropping them during the week and premiering them, I was like, well, that would allow us to drop it in multiple locations at once. I just have to set something up with Spotify, because you can't actually directly post to Spotify. You have to get a third party that does all that for you, and then also putting this on some other platforms as well.
And Spotify does have video, correct?
Yes, Spotify has now added video, which is a nice little add-on that they've
Because
done.
otherwise, we would have to strip the audio
Nope, they have
for any other regular podcasts.
Yep, they have video now too, so it makes it nice and easy. So keep your eyes on that. Share this out if you think that this message needs to go a little bit further, and hopefully 2026 we'll be starting off with a very interesting topic, and that's going to be diving into stakeholder capitalism. And
is that going to be our first episode?
I figured we might as well start off strong, because that actually ties a lot into the theme that we've been going, and corruption, especially where our guest wants to take that. So
Wait. I haven't looked into it, so I'm going to take a guess. Is this something that I have advocated for before? Stakeholder capitalism?
I'm sure that you've talked about this plenty.
Where workers own a stake in the companies that they work for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, stakeholder capitalism, kind of taking a look at the roots of some of the French Revolution, seeing how things were there, talking about kind of how things are now. So more of a deep dive into things that we've seen in our past, and the correlations that are going on right now. A little bit of WEF talk, the World Economic Forum, kind of their mandates, things like that. So hard-hitting topic. I do have a guest for this one, and also a very knowledgeable friend of mine. So he liked the idea of this podcast and really wanted to come on. And I've been trying for a little while to see what he wanted to talk about, and he finally came up with a topic. So
stakeholder capitalism just sounds like the first stage of democratic socialism.
I'll never, as long as it's not like a federal mandate type thing, and people want to have decisions that they make in their own self-interest in their own localities. What is wrong with democratic socialism?
Everything.
On localized levels?
Yes.
I guess we'll see what goes on with New York.
We'll see that failure that it is. The thing is that democratic socialism wouldn't work unless it was within a capitalist system.
Well, I mean, it's a two-part thing, where it's like democratic socialism. Yeah,
I know.
Which if you want to hear more on the conversation, you got to join us for our 2026 episode, because we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes, and I've got plans this evening. So
there we go.
Thanks.
Yeah. So Yeah, I'll go ahead and start the okay. Thank you guys. I do greatly appreciate it. I hope you all. I mean, I'll be seeing you guys. I'll be seeing all of you because the crossover is still very heavy. Um, but as far as counter this, I'll see you after the new year for counter this, and I hope you all have an amazing Christmas and holidays and whatever you celebrate during this time of the year, winter solstice, whatever it is. Mad love. Thank you for joining us for our 9th episode and for coming along for the ride. We do greatly appreciate you, and I personally just want to thank you for being here, and looking forward to 2026 with this guy and the next episode. So, mad love. Have a great rest of your weekend. I will see you guys after the New Year's on Counter This. I will see you guys tomorrow on Lunar Beach Crypto. Mad love.
And that link is in the description for his channel. Of course, most of you probably already know that, but for anyone watching later, that link is in the description. For
I'm
me,
gonna go to sleep now.
hey, you need it. You need it. Get some rest, and I will see you here after the new year. We'll be taking off 2 weeks here on Counter This, and then keep your eyes out. We'll start dropping some still videos instead during the week so that we can chat with you a little bit more. Like Lunar Beaches was saying, it is a little bit hard to engage in the topic and then also engage in the chat at the same time, especially on these hard-hitting topics. So thank you for joining us for our 9th episode here. I will see y'all bright and early Monday morning on Piper Academy. And I hope everyone has an amazing holiday season. Make sure to spend some time with the people you love. Let them know that you're happy for them and what's going on. Spread the love, feel the love, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Counter this.